Hello, everyone. My name is Adam Bolain. As Don mentioned, I'm the founder and lead consultant at Food Safety Forward. Today, I want to talk to you about from risk to ROI, what CFOs need to know about quality and food safety, and some of the regulatory shifts. I just want to thank the FANG group for letting me come join you and interact with you. I have a passion for food safety, and you'll get to see that as we walk through the presentation together. I see finance and food safety as both as service organizations in the food manufacturing industry. And I want to reframe for you, not as a box to check, like a compliance box, but as a financial strategy. For CFOs, food safety is financial safety. I'm trying to advance my, there we go. There we go. So who is Food Safety Forward? As Don mentioned, I've been in the food industry for over 30 years. I worked for Kraft Foods, for H.J. Heinz, and what is now known as Kraft Heinz Company. We were founded in 2018, and we work in a number of different spaces. Our consultants are seasoned consultants. These folks have been in the industry for over 20 years, sometimes closer to 40 years. We work in different roles of interim leadership, regulatory readiness, audit prep, process optimization, risk mitigation, culture building, and organizational design. Food Safety Forward helps you answer those questions with confidence. We turn the food safety into a financial advantage. Let's get started. As CFOs, you manage risk every day. Food safety belongs in that same category. It's not just an operations issue, it's a finance issue. Recalls cost on average $10 million. The brand damage coming from a recall multiplies that impact for you. The FDA and USDA regulations raise those stakes for you relative to that risk. Waste and out-of-spec results will erode your margins silently. They'll sneak up on you. You won't see them. Food safety is enterprise risk management. A way to look at this from a CFO perspective, every dollar that's lost to poor food safety is a dollar off of EBITDA. So let's take a look at a case study. Many of you have probably seen in 2024, Boar's Head recalled 7 million pounds of deli meats due to a listeria outbreak. 61 people were sickened and 10 people lost their lives to this recall. This was difficult for Boar's Head. The financial fallout had a huge impact to them. They faced plant shutdowns. They are potentially losing hundreds of millions of dollars. One that's publicly known is a $3.1 million class action lawsuit. And this company has been in place. They've been operating for over 100 years. They had a strong reputation in the industry of high quality, but now with this recall, a significant recall, their consumer trust is lost. It started to erode from all the years that they built. And then they were impacted again earlier this year in the summer with the mislabeling incident associated with smoked Gouda cheese. This just reinforced a pattern that was happening at Boar's Head, that they had inadequate sanitation or labeling controls. So for CFOs, I think that the lesson is clear. Food safety failures are financial failures. They trigger direct costs, recalls, lawsuits, shutdowns, and the indirect costs like lost sales, insurance hikes, long-term brand damage. In Boar's Head's case, what took them a century to build and consumer trust was put at risk in a matter of months. So this shows where the devastating cost is for failure. But here's a key question for us to ask each other today. What role does a CFO play in preventing this? Let's look how financial leadership directly shapes food safety outcomes. Here are the key takeaways. Food safety protects margins. Regulations are tightening, and culture plus external expertise is what makes improvements sustainable. As financial stewards, CFOs are uniquely positioned to see food safety not as an operations detail, but as risk exposure. And risk is something you already manage every day, whether it's in currency, credit, compliance. Let's explore some specific risks in food manufacturing that demand your attention. The regulations are tightening. Compliance gaps are financial risks waiting to happen. Targeted gap assessments or risk assessments can help identify critical or egregious food safety risks in your manufacturing plants. Are your facilities FSMA compliant? If you haven't heard the term FSMA, it's a short acronym for the Food Safety Modernization Act. This was signed by President Obama in 2011, and the compliance date, the last compliance date when everyone is supposed to be compliant, is September of 2017. How do all the changes in the federal and state level affect your company? Whether it's traceability bans, traceability additive bans, allergen oversight, stricter pathogen controls in some sectors of the food industry, and less in other sectors. Of course, risk management isn't about avoiding disasters. It's about protecting our margins. Every dollar spent on prevention is a dollar saved many times over in avoided recalls, lawsuits, and lost sales. Let's break down the ROI for food safety investments. So I want to break down for you and try to translate some of the operations terminology on the next couple of slides. Here, where are the costs of non-quality hiding in your balance sheet? Do you know where to look for them? Sometimes we call them waste on the floor, an overusage of materials or ingredients, when we have product corrections due to out of specification results, we have obsolescence, expired materials, we have rework, those generate labor and additional material costs, or we have unsaleable finished goods, or we have contaminated products, whether that's through foreign material or micro-contamination. So many of you may interact with your COO frequently or your director of manufacturing. If you talk to them or you work with their CI team, they often refer to an acronym called downtime. And I wanted to kind of translate some of their terms for you because one of the things I found in quality and food safety is we usually have the same end goal in mind, but we're not always talking the same language. So the elements of downtime are defects, overproduction, waiting, non-utilized capacity or talent, transportation, inventory, motion, and extra processing. So defects. Defects can be holds, line waste, out of spec materials, or contamination. Overproduction. This is found in schedule attainment misses. Waiting, time to approve new suppliers or co-manufacturers. This has been impacting many of our plants lately with the tariffs that have been impacting the US. Non-utilized capacity. This could be from line downtime or lines down due to a micro issue or an environmental risk. Transportation, additional transport costs to manufacture due to the manufacturing location or importation of goods or storage costs or quarantine holds. Inventory, this could be through obsolescence or expired materials. Motion could be from overstaffing due to a hold or inspection or testing activities. And then extra processing due to rework or repacking. Every wasted pound is a wasted dollar. CFOs should track the cost of non-quality like any other type of financial KPI. The financial impact. Have you looked at your cost of non-quality as a percentage of sales? Is it increasing or decreasing? Do you consider spoilage, mislabeling, out-of-spec losses, food safety deviations? All of these are a direct hit to EBITDA. Beyond just the cost savings, there's another driver you can't ignore, and that is regulation. And 2025 marks a turning point for us in the US. New FDA and USDA rules, along with state level laws, are raising the bar on traceability, labeling, and pathogen control. For CFOs, compliance is not optional, it's a financial imperative. I'd like to share with you in 2024, I had the privilege of participating in a study that was hosted by the Reagan-Udall Foundation. The purpose was to determine if actions taken by the agency through the release of nutrition or food safety regulation and policies have their intended impact on public health and nutritional attributes and safety of the food supply. These regulatory changes have designed to reduce foodborne illness, speed up recalls, and protect vulnerable populations. It's a great study. I put the hyperlink in the presentation on this slide. But to get you to the end of the story, they had two primary conclusions. The current collection, compilation, and curation of food data is insufficient to support a robust evidence generation, meaning they couldn't prove that their policies are actually making a positive impact on public health. And they saw that public and private partnerships present an opportunity. There's limited data sharing between government agencies and food companies. They're concerned about punitive, or at least perception of punitive regulatory action by sharing this data. And they notice that there's a decline of food safety professionals, both in the public and private sectors. For CFOs, the financial upside is clear. With fewer outbreaks means fewer lawsuits, fewer recalls, and a stronger consumer trust. In 2025, we've seen the implementation of several changes. Some of these are around regulatory writing or tightening. First was a traceability rule. This was originally scheduled to come out, the enforcement to come out this year. It is currently scheduled for 2026. This is around enhanced record keeping for high-risk foods. Think of it as farm to fork. The CFOs probably already know, if you are already working on this, this is already impacted in many cases through capital expenditures to upgrade systems. There is a proposal on and legislation to extend this and move the deadline to 2028 if you have been following this traceability rule. We've seen ingredient bans around the brominated vegetable oil, red dye number 3, potassium bromate, polyparaben, and cell culture meat. These are restructuring or reshaping some of our product portfolios. You saw last year that we added a 9th allergen. Sesame is now listed as what used to be known for years as the top 8, is now the top 9 allergens in the United States. And we are now seeing state level laws. This causes a patchwork of compliance for food manufacturers. We've been seeing Some states allow the sale of raw milk, changes to the school lunch program, banned products in certain states, and state level school lunch restrictions around ultra processed foods and prohibited ingredients. This becomes a challenge for complex supply chains in food manufacturing. The USDA's FSIS are lowering pathogen thresholds for salmonella and E. coli in meat and poultry. Uh, they believe that this could reduce outbreak risks, but it does raise potential compliance costs. And then lastly, the CDC, you've probably seen recently in the last few months, they have an active surveillance network we commonly call FoodNet. They are only going to focus on salmonella and Shiga toxin producing E. coli. You typically see this as an acronym as STEC. The other foodborne allergen or foodborne illnesses around Listeria, Campylobacter, and Vibrio are now optional. So you're going to have less information coming out from the CDC than you did before because they are only optional. They're not sharing that information with the public. So compliance trade-offs. I thought it would be good to compare where do we invest and how does that potentially impact us? So where can you see these compliance investments? We would see them in traceability systems. This is digital record keeping and supplier verification. Typically costs between $500,000 and $2 million, depending on the scale and the complexity of your company. Additional QA staff and training, on average between $250,000 to $750,000 annually. Audit readiness and certification. This could be from your GFSI audit, a regulatory audit, or a customer audit, ranging between $100,000 to $300,000. And then ESG investor reporting integration between $50,000 to $150,000. So what are the non-compliance costs if we don't implement some of these programs? As I mentioned before, the average recall is around $10 million. Brand damage and lost sales is estimated between 2 to 5% revenue hit over 12 to 18 months. And in some cases, in the quality and food safety sector, we call these brand killers. Lawsuits and settlements and regulatory fines averaging between $5 to $50 million. And in some cases, it restricts access to specific markets. You might see blocked exports, lost contracts, and millions of dollars in opportunity cost. Compliance protects you from fines and shutdowns, but the bigger picture is brand trust. Consumers don't read the Federal Register, they read headlines, and one recall can undo decades of brand equity. Let's talk about how food safety is really brand protection. Culture is the multiplier. Without it, processes don't stick. Food safety culture are the daily behaviors. What do we do when someone's not watching you? Do they do the right thing when they're not being supervised or not being overseen by a manager or supervisor or lead in their area? KPIs must be tied to performance reviews. You want to lead by example at all levels. As many of you already know, in the Park Doctrine, company leadership can be held personally liable, and ignorance to risk and food safety is not a strong defense in court. So how do you as the CFO turn these risks and regulations into a strategy? It starts with embedding food safety into enterprise risk management, funding the right systems, and tracking the right KPIs. Here's a practical application and a practical action plan that you can take back to your teams. First, we're going to talk about preparedness and recovery. If a recall happened tomorrow, how fast could you respond? That's a CFO question as much as an operations question. First, there's three elements. First one is recall readiness. Recall plans are required under FSMA. It's a law. Practice mock traces with finished goods, raw materials, and packaging. Implement a robust hold program, and then communicate this recall readiness to all levels. Second is on crisis management. Have a well-written plan. Include finance, ops, and communications. It should be cross-functional. Conduct your mock conduct your mock crisis exercise annually. It's good to practice instead of learning on the fly when a crisis actually happens. Complete each plant's intentional adulteration and vulnerability assessment. And make sure you have a business continuity plan in the face of uncertainty and things that might be unforeseen that happen at your facilities. And remember, speed equals cost savings. E-systems can accelerate the process and improve accuracy. So a proposed action plan for CFOs. My question to you is, are you ready? And I think many of you are. Have you budgeted for digital traceability? Many of those upgrades would have happened this year with the anticipation of the enforcement of that law. Some of them may have foreseen that and moved their upgrades, or maybe it is a complex upgrade and it's multi-staged, and you may complete it in 2026. Have a plan for reformulation costs due to additive bans and tariffs. Monitor state by state compliance requirements. This could impact your supply chain. And invest in infrastructure improvements. So many times I talk to folks and I say, well, how do you talk to your COO? How do you talk to the manufacturing team? You don't need to be food safety experts, but you do need to ask the right questions. These are a few questions that can help you protect your bottom line. Are we ready for the 2025 FDA and USDA rules? What is our cost of non-quality as a percentage of sales? How much product do we lose associated with spoilage or out of specification results? How do we measure food safety culture in our company? If a recall happened tomorrow, how fast could we respond? Now, you might be wondering, does this really work in practice? Can a company recover from a crisis and come out stronger? The answer is yes. Let's take a look at Maple Leaf Foods, which turned a devastating recall into a world-class food safety transformation. In 2008, Maple Leaf Foods recalled over 200 products, and 23 people died associated with these recalls. The leaders were personally scrutinized by the public in Canada. The company invested heavily in independent food safety advisory boards with global food safety experts. They enhanced pathogen testing and daily sanitation protocols. They had transparency and communication with both the regulators, consumers, and investors. And they're embedding food safety into corporate culture, making it a board-level priority for the company. Over the next decade, Maple Leaf transformed itself into a global benchmark for food safety culture. Today is cited in industry case studies and of an example of how a company can emerge stronger after crisis. Maple Leaf proves that food safety can be more than damage control. It can be a competitive advantage, and that's the message I want to leave with you today that food safety is not a cost center. It is a financial strategy that protects margins, compliance, and brand trust. Food Safety Forward can help answer those questions with confidence. We turn food safety from a hidden liability into a competitive advantage. On the screen are a couple ways that we might be able to help you. I'll leave you with this. Food safety is a financial safety. With the right partner, you can protect margins, ensure compliance, and to build trust. And to share with you my journey over the last 30 years, the picture you can see as a watermark in the background is the first plant that I worked at with Kraft Foods.